Hey guys, it's Lee Taylor. That's the 2020 Renault Koleos, and this is a Right Lane review. In the overpopulated SUV segment, it's hard for models to stand out. They all do pretty much the same thing, but slightly different. For Renault, this is even harder because their SUV shares a platform with one of the most popular in Australia, the Nissan X-Trail. So what does the French marque do to stand out? Well, you make it a bit more European. The Koleos drives a lot smoother than the X-Trail, and its design is unmistakably Renault. Plus you get some interesting features like this gorgeous dark red paint, which is like a almost Bordeaux color and it shimmers in the sunlight, LED headlights, and an interior design that's much more engaging and upmarket feeling than this Japanese cousin. And you would expect this to come at a price. And yes, $46,000 before on-roads, which is a really good price for an SUV like this, so it makes the Koleos an attractive alternative. So it's no surprise that the Nissan X-Trail is super popular here in Australia, and it's arguably the Koleos' main rival in the segment. They're mechanically identical in petrol trim and share a variety of tech and offer nearly the exact same interior space and towing capacity. Not to mention pricing, it's super close, only a couple of $100 between the two. So it really just depends on preference. Obviously the Renault is going to drive a bit more European, a bit softer edged. They share the same 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, so 126 kilowatts, 226 newton meters of torque, same CVT gearbox, and in this particular model, the same all-wheel drive system that shared the X-Trail as well. So they call it selectable 4-wheel drive, but it's really just an all-wheel drive system that can decouple the rear axle, so you have a 2-wheel drive mode, front-wheel drive, or you can lock out and produce 50-50 across the entire range. Around town, this car drives really well. It definitely feels large, but it doesn't feel cumbersome, so it's easy to maneuver. I wish the steering was a little bit more communicative. It's a bit numb, so you're not really sure what the front end's doing sometimes. And it feels kind of taut around town, but once you get on the open motorway, that changes. Parking's pretty easy because you have 360 sensors. You can see out of it really, really well. I mean, you have to stamp your passport to look out the back glass. You should probably get an intercom system for anyone sitting in the back, but not bad. You also have a 2-ton towing capacity with this 4-wheel drive model, so you can tow a light camping trailer or take the go-karts out, the kayaks or jet ski or whatever. So you do have that option as well. And I reckon this car would be perfectly fine going out on some adventures, and it's also perfectly at home in the urban environment. It's more wet than a fish's bottom out here today. Also, having heated and cooled seats, such a nice touch. I mean, heated seats, yeah, okay, but cooled seats, it's so good to get in a car, particularly with this black leather, and the seats are like lava. You turn the cooled seats on and just nice and smooth, so nice. But the LED light system on the Koleos is actually quite clever, so it's nothing too crazy. It's not anything like the Matrix system for Audis or Volkswagens, but it's a full LED beam with your LED running lights, which look gorgeous on the front of this car, by the way. Automatic headlights, and automatic high beam assist as well. And then when you're turning, the fog light will actually point in the direction you're going to turn to help you out at night. So around town, it's nice because you kind of see down a little tiny side street if it's not well illuminated, and out in a rural environment, it would be super helpful, especially with the high beam assist, because that's a nice thing to think about. You don't have to worry about dazzling other drivers. So with your driver assistance tech that you would interact with on the day-to-day basis, you get your normal cruise control. So standard cruise control where you just set the speed and go, a speed limiter, blind spot monitors, lane, departure warning, that sort of thing. So a couple things with those though. So with the cruise control, you don't get the option for an adaptive cruise control system on the Koleos, which I think is a little bit of a miss for this particular segment because most of its competitors and its stablemates have that as an option. The lane departure warning works really well for the most part. The only thing that I don't particularly care for is that the noise it makes when you get close to the line is it's supposed to like mimic the noise of running over the rumble strips on the freeway, but it just sounds like someone farting. Yeah, not my favorite noise. So what about the interior and the tech on the Renault Koleos? Well, from the driver's seat, it's a really nice place to be. The seats are nice and supportive, the leather feels good, the steering wheel falls nice in the hand. You have a gorgeous big LCD screen in front of you, flanked by the 2 side gauges. There are some Renault-isms, like the fact that your volume controls and radio controls are behind the steering wheel on a stalk, and your cruise control and speed limiter are in the middle next to the gear shift. But cabin materials are actually pretty good for the price point. There are some scratchy plastics in places, but I can overlook it based on the style and the price. This wood veneer, well, it's not really veneer, it's actually just plastic made to look like wood. It actually looks really nice, but you can tell it's a bit plasticky. But again, it's a 50 grand SUV with on-road, so I'll get over it. This uses Renault's R-Link system, which does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it works in a portrait format, which is a bit odd at first, but most things work pretty well. It's pretty responsive, doesn't really give you too many issues. The only thing I don't like is the fact that the aircon controls are kind of mixed between the on-screen and the two buttons here, so it's a little bit weird. But you also get ventilated seats and heated seats, which is a nice touch. On tech, you get park assist, the normal safety suite, so AEB, forward collision warning, that sort of thing, cross traffic alert. You do get blind spot monitors, though the light's a bit small for me, so you miss it if you're not careful. But by far, my two favorite things in here is one, the Bose sound system, which sounds fantastic, and this gorgeous, massive panoramic roof. It's just great. So in the back seats, it's actually really, really comfortable in here. Plenty of headroom, even with the panoramic sunroof, which is great for the back seat because it makes everything feel nice and airy. Tons of room all the way around. You can sit 3 wide in here pretty comfortably, and you have an armrest with cup holders, as well as 2 USB points in the back if you have your friends that need to charge their phones. I'm actually quite comfortable in the middle and could be here for a little bit of time. If you have kids, plenty of space along with ISOFIX points, so you can just pop the baby seat right in place. You should be good to go. So what's the boot like on the Renault Koleos? Well, to start, you get a power operated tailgate, so that makes things easy right off the bat. There's tons of space back here, so typical midsize SUV. You do have a pretty high load level, and there's a full-size spare underneath, so you don't get any cubby space, but at least you're safe when you're out in the bush. So you do have a quick release in the back for the rear seats. So just one pull, and they come flying forward, and you have your typical low cover. Now, I don't really care for this low cover for the sheer fact that it's a bit like all over the place, and it's a little bit weird to get a hold of. So I prefer one that wasn't built in the sides, but it's whatever. Plus, on these Koleos, you also have the option for a tow bar, which is good for about 2,000 pounds. So what's the tops, bottoms, and final verdict on this 2020 Renault Koleos? Short list on the bottom. The lack of adaptive cruise control and surround view cameras, which we know are available on the X-Trail, is a bit of a miss for me because the platform obviously has the tech. The lack of a diesel option as well means that Renault's missing out on a customer base here in Australia that they could be grabbing back from the X-Trail and the Tiguan. On top, some pretty cool bits. You get a 7-year warranty with this car. 7 years, that's really, really good. There's so much room inside. The interior is a really lovely, nice place to be, very French, and it's very usable, practical, and just a great car to be in. So my final verdict on the Renault Koleos, in a world of SUVs where you can have your cake and eat it too, I think the French alternative is a really nice place to be, and it feels a lot more upscale than its Japanese sibling. So if you're on the market for an SUV, you want something that's practical, stylish, looks good, and has reliable bones, check out the Renault Koleos. Want a worm? Get a worm. I don't know what that means.